the packaging design. And actually, if you want to catch some of the coverage, Figures.com has been doing some coverage of Toynami's new Robotech releases, so check those out. They've got really nice images coming out of New York Toy Fair. And here's a newer plushie that they've also worked on, which is Mimney. Designed to look like that cute, super deformed Mimney toy, if you remember that in the TV series.
Does it sing?
That would be hilarious.
Not yet, but that's a great idea.
Ooh, voice box.
That's a great idea. You know, like a little wind-up version.
Or even the one like you squeeze them, like you can get them to build a bear now, and it just makes noise.
Good idea. Also, there's new toys coming out from, we've licensed a new toy manufacturer as well, Kids Logic. They're working on the 6-inch scale Rick Hunter. And so actually check out our Twitter page. As Toy Fair is going on right now, you'll notice that we're putting up new imagery about this. And so these are all on the, these are all being worked on for releases later this year. And 80s Tees, they're a really awesome retro manufacturer that, of T-shirts that we're working with. They started off with the obvious icons of Robotech being designed into new T-shirts. But we love them because they really love retro stuff. So like this design, we thought, maybe it's a little too obscure for some fans, but some fans got it right away. You know, the ones who were there from the very beginning, who bought that very first VHS in '84. All right, so you get it. All right. So this is interesting. So sometimes they wonder, all right, is this design going to be a little bit too obscure? So they'll actually post it, and they'll do kind of like almost like a, they'll take social media feedback. If there's enough interest from the fans, then they'll know immediately whether they can do a production run or not, you know. And so this is really cool, the way they actually gauge feedback on these really obscure retro designs. And here's a new design that they just recently showed off. And here's a hoodie design they're working on. So this is a quick and dirty cosplay, if you want to be a Veritech fighter. And we're also working with Bait. They do sports apparel, and these are some of the new Macross and Robotech designs that they've done. And custom wall scrolls, CWS. They've been taking some of the great art from the Robotech series and issuing these awesome new wall scrolls. Now, I remember you guys in the crowd before we started were asking about the Palladium books. They've been one of our longest, most loyal licensees. It's been a pleasure working with them. How many of you? I'm sorry?
I just wish they were more on time.
Right, right. Well, you know, it would, in a perfect world, yes, that they would be more on time with all their releases. The one nice thing to Kevin's credit is they are very self-aware, you know, of their release schedule, and what they are doing is, at the very least, they are communicating with their fans. Kevin does do a regular update with his fans to let them know where they are in terms of their status with their releases. Let's see, it was great to continue working with them as they reissued a lot of the classic Robotech series with updated rules as part of the Robotech Shadow Chronicles role-playing game and newly issued updated source books. And they've also moved a lot of these to the larger format, away from the manga size, so they've gone back to the classic size. One of the things they found
I've got all of those.
from trial and error is they moved to the small tankobon size when, remember when that Tokyo Pop size was like all the rage? But one of the things they found from, from just basically field use was that when you have the small size, when you're not holding it down, they slap themselves shut at that small size, and they found that basically the larger size just lays open more easily during real gameplay, so they've gone back to this classic size. The one on the right is their newest source book, which is the Expeditionary Force Marines. So fans who kind of missed that deep expeditionary force segment of the Sentinels. This actually more or less kind of fills in for that. And so getting into the RPG miniatures segment, this was one of their early releases back long time ago, which is like one of the hardest to find items on eBay now. So this is one of the most sought after Robotech collectibles. This led to them seeking out the license, to expanding the license to RPG Tactics, which they launched on Kickstarter, which raised $1.4 million for Palladium Books and Ninja Division to do not just a core game, but to do all these stretch goals. And so that's actually what they're working on. They did issue the basic set, and they've gotten Wave 1 out. They're currently working on Wave 2 with more of these additional figures. So here's Kevin showing the products that did ship already, and so which is the base set and some of the additional figure sets. And actually, if you guys don't follow our Facebook or Twitter page now, I recommend you do. If you go onto social media with these sort of Robotech fan groups, a lot of them are generating these custom RPG fan projects based on the waves that the wave releases that have come out so far. Yeah, okay, there's a trade-off about them, which is, yeah, they're like model kits. You have to put them together, you have to glue them together. It's not finished. Though, one of the things that's come up is because of the way they sell them unassembled, is there's fans actually providing basically expert build services for folks who don't have the time and energy.
Also, you can customize them so much easier.
Yeah, that's the main reason, is for folks who want a specific pose. That's actually the reason why they're releasing them in pieces that way, so fans can customize them the way they want.
When I first bought it, I thought it was like Star Wars Armada.
Yeah.
And I was so excited, I opened the box and I just see a stack of screws, and I'm like,
right. So, okay. Going on to Robotech novelizations, we've actually re-released all the classic Jack McKinney series. These 4 omnibus editions actually encompass the original 12 Jack McKinney releases that covered the 85 episodes of Robotech, the original story arcs. And so now you don't have to track down all 12. It's easier to get these 4 basically big omnibus editions. But we've also reissued them electronically. So if Kindle and iPad reading is your thing, then you can get them that way as well. And so they support all the digital readers. The updated editions also include appendices, which compare continuity detail changes between the television series and the books. So I remember Carl did get asked by fans, well, what's canon? Do you follow the books? Do you follow the series? And then he did use the term, he said it's all organic. It's not going to fit together perfectly. It's meant for different mediums and media, and for people who like to absorb their content differently. The one thing is, ultimately, nobody has the right to tell you how you're supposed to enjoy your favorite sci-fi. That's really up to you. And among fans, even though there's all these fan arguments over continuity, at least this way with the appendices, you can see what's been changed, what's different. We noticed that even within the book series, Wolf, like Jonathan Wolf's name spelling was changing. No, you're supposed to spell it this way, you're supposed to spell it that way. So in the appendices, we'll even say, well, we changed it because it said this and elsewhere, and in the original printing, it might have said that. So at least it's there so that you can compare. And we not just have the novels covering the original series in electronic book form, we also have updated editions released for the in-between novels. So they were, in their original release, they were called the Lost Generation. And We have the Zentradi Rebellion, which covers the storyline in between the first and second generation of Robotech. We have the Sentinels, which covers the adventures of the expeditionary force in deep space, concurrently with the Southern Cross and New Generation. And then we also have Before the Invid Storm, which covers the storyline in between the second and third generation. So all these additional storylines are now out in the ebook form, including End of the Circle, which some fans would argue is kind of like Robotech's Splinter of the Mind's Eye. You know? Now that we have Shadow Chronicles out there, it's a different take on the post-New Generation Robotech universe, but it's there in print, so you can enjoy it for those who enjoy the writing of Jack McKinney. And comics as well. We've had a long run with the Robotech comics ever since Kamiko. These are some of the collected editions in foreign languages. This release specifically was in China. And our most recent release is Robotech Voltron. How many of you have seen it so far? Okay, a few of you? Okay, I do recommend it. It was really a huge pleasure working with Elmer DeMasso. He's an awesome artist. We were honored to have him working on this crossover series. So it's a throwback to the 80s series, 80s style series of Robotech and Voltron. And here's some of the sample artwork by Elmer DeMasso, which is awesome. One of the things we wanted to make sure we didn't do, we were actually sent crossover proposals before with Robotech, and there were some we actually passed up on because some of them were not really that good of an idea. And one of the things that was important was we didn't want it to just be a mashup, which a lot of these crossovers end up being. We wanted to actually have good backstories for some of the characters, to do a little bit of a character study on both sides. And so this was a great opportunity. We enjoyed doing that. Like on the Voltron side, in the Voltron universe, King Alfor, who is the father of Princess Allura, is always presented as being dead, and you're wondering, why is he dead? You know, why is he always giving her advice from beyond the grave? So we developed some backstory here, including Lotor. Like, why is he look different than the other ghouls? Why is he kind of like their pretty boy? And why does he have the hots for anyone that looks like his mom? Who happens to be a human, which is kind of, it's buried into continuity there, but there's some interesting subplots there. So he's in love with Allura because she looks just like his mom. And then at the same time, for Rick and Roy, like, why does Rick Hunter call Roy Fokker, who's obviously from a different family, his older brother? And so we also developed that backstory a little bit too, like the relationship between their respective fathers before the Macross saga. And here's some cool designs that went into the Robotech Voltron mecha. The fast packs had to be redesigned because the Voltron mecha is actually much larger than the size of Veritech, for those of you who actually follow scale. So the size of the Voltron mecha is actually closer to that of a Jaeger from Pacific Rim, if you're into that. Like approximately 200 feet tall, as opposed to 50 feet tall, which is about what a Veritech size was. So the individual issues are now available through Comixology. You can get the complete trade paperback now. It was released at the end of last year, and so that's out. And it also contains some additional material, bonus material, going into the respective universes on the Voltron and Robotech side, and a little more background information about the mecha. And actually, if you go on our Facebook page, we actually posted a little epilogue material on for Valentine's Day. So check out our social media. We have a little bit extra there for those of you who already read the series. All right, Robotech soundtracks. We had a new recent release that came out. We've worked on this for a long time. We've covered this before. We've gone through a lot of the master recordings. How many of you saw this before? Because we were actually touching on to this during the last Long Beach Comic Con presentation. But okay, so I'll go through it really quickly for those of you who weren't here last time. We digitally remastered the music tracks for previous CD releases. However, we found the master tape that was with the same catalog number, but much thicker than the previous master we were using, because instead of just storing the stereo tracks folded down, it was a 2-inch tape that had every single audio track, every single instrument isolated. So it had the vocals isolated from the strings, isolated from the guitar, isolated from the percussion. And what that allows us to do is karaoke tracks. So here's the mix stage where we did the restoration of and mastering of the music. And here's showing you the digitized data for all the individual tracks. Yeah, they pretty much nearly filled up all 24 of those tracks with lots of musical data. And so it also allowed us to do a lengthened 3-verse version of We Will Win. So there's an even longer version that was released before. So this is the new release that came out at the end of last year, which is the Deluxe 3-disc collection. That's available now on CD if you want to collect that. For those of you who are waiting for the iTunes release, it's just now come out. We now have it finally on iTunes and Amazon and CD Baby, the digital services. The only difference is when we were going through the digital system, because we had over 100 tracks, they didn't have a mechanism for handling an album with over 100 tracks, so we actually had to break it up in 2. So we have it broken up in 2, but it's the same total price, so you can get it digitally that way. Robotech on video. So we were talking about having everything from the Sentinels, which we did digitally restore, and really obscure releases like Robotech 3000, and Shadow Chronicles and Love Live Live. How many of you have seen Robotech Shadow Chronicles? Not everyone? Wow. All right, Love Live Alive. Okay, still a minority. All right, so we'll play a little preview of that. Includes Love Live Live, which was our most recent production. We actually digitally restored this from an OVA that had been around since the 80s, but for some reason was not included in the Robotech universe. And so this was actually one of the last projects that we were working on with Carl Masick, the original producer of Robotech, before he passed away. And so that was adapted into Robotech Love Live Live. We actually brought in Greg Snegoff, one of the original writers of the Robotech series, and he brought in the original voice actors, including Frank Catalano, who was the voice of Rand. And there's Greg in the recording studio. There's Camp Clark as Lancer, Susie London as Rook, and Barbara Goodson as the other Princess Sarah, the other Invid Princess Sarah, and then Alexander Kenworthy as the Queen, the Regis. And here's some of the CG work that went into it. So this went from 3D animatic form into a final cell-style rendered form, so that it actually blended better with the classic Robotech footage. And so here, I'll show you some of the footage that went into Love Live Live. So even though we extended out Love Live Live a little bit, we were careful to make sure that the additional footage that was added in CG kind of kept the flavor and the style of the classic animation. So here's some of the additional material that went into the giant box set. We had some bonus material, some additional designs that had not been published in any Japanese publication before. And so this is all in the giant Robotech 20-disc box set. This is the most recent box set, home video box set. It replaced the previous 17-disc edition as the most complete set ever. It contains all the Robotech movies, Shadow Chronicles, Love Live Live, The Sentinels, and the original 85 episodes, and over 12 hours of extras, like interviews with all the different voice actors, including the narrator. We were very proud to get him back. And for fans who asked, well, it's nice to have these behind-the-scenes making of documentaries, but it almost feels like with most of these series, all these interviews are happening after the fact. Like they've been interviewed now, reflecting back on what happened back then. And we were actually fortunate to find a documentary of the making of Robotech when it was being worked on back in the 80s. And actually we have in the audience here, Dexter O'Donnell. He worked on this documentary short called Robotech: The Inside Story, where he was actually at Intersound while they were producing Robotech 2: The Sentinels, right after they completed work on Robotech back in, I believe, was this late 85 or was this in 86? 86, okay. So you'll see here, this is Steve Kramer and Rebecca Forstadt, also known as Reba West, who was the original voice of Yune. Fortunate to get this. Dexter had told me before that he had worked on this project, and when I contacted Palomar College, they had told me that they had discarded all this classic analog material from back then to make room for a digital library. And then, I was so disappointed, and then they asked me, well, what was it you were looking for? And I told them, well, it was about Robotech. And he said, oh yeah, that one. Yeah, that was cool, so we kept that one. So it was the one rare item that they kept from their old library, which they had otherwise discarded. And we digitally restored it, and it's now included in that box set, so you can see a little snippet into the making of Robotech back then in the 80s.